mouth get in my way. I got my breath, I got my faith, and I remember why I came.
I feel glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this. It's who I am, I couldn't forget. I made it through the darkest part of the night, and now I see the sunrise. Now I feel glorious.
Hola.
Hola. This is episode 16?
17, I think. Welcome to episode 17. It's a very special number because
Why?
it's, I don't know. Just making it up there. You guys are in luck. If you actually watch this episode, the 8 of you out there, it's a good number. Okay.
There's more than 8.
So we just figured out what we're going to talk about, right? And
It's being called to something. And we've kind of touched on this before.
yeah, like, and when we say like being called, it's almost like it was already meant to happen, right? But like, and then, you could resist it sometimes, you could willingly go, but you already kind of have a sense or feeling or some kind of knowing that that's what you're meant to do, and then you're actually fulfilling on that.
Yeah.
Right,
And
so-
intellectually, you may have no idea why you want to go, or it might not make sense to go or do whatever it is that you're feeling called to. But when like you feel called, you're like just continuously drawn to it. And sometimes you just like at the moment you don't know why, and then you
Yeah.
in hindsight you'll realize, oh,
So do you want to
Yeah.
talk about some past stuff where that happened, or do you want to talk about the thing coming up in the future?
either one's fine with me. With you, you've been called to stuff too, so
Well, I would say like even probably the most recent one, right? It was actually on video. It's like the ayahuasca, right? I've
Yeah.
heard about it for like 8 years. Just never occurred to me that I was interested. Watched a YouTube video in December, and then it's not because it's not like anything that they said there were like the information. It's that it just brought my attention to the, hey, you know what? I think it's time to try it out. And then
blind.
things just kind of came up. I was actually supposed to do it
Again?
in January or February with some girl who was here from Seattle, but then it ended up not working out, and then
He
I
did it
ended up
with
finding
me.
Amy, and then we ended up doing it together. It's just funny how like things worked out, right? And it's been 3+ months since the first one. I'm still reaping a lot of the benefits. And the biggest tangible one I can explain very short is just like financially, what it's like opened up for me as far as my relationship with finances. I actually wrote like a post about it today in my group. But whereas finances occurred a certain way before, it felt like it was challenging. It was like very like dead, and it was it just wasn't.
Proliferous.
There wasn't a lot of energy with it. Now the way I relate to it, one, it's very energetic, but it's like it's fun, one, which I never related to it as fun before, and then two, there's something like seductive about it. Like you can actually be seduced by money. So then that actually unlocked through doing that first ayahuasca. So it's been 3 months. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at some of the earlier episodes, and then if you're on the fence thinking about it, highly recommend you go do it. If you're in Orlando, contact us. We'll link you up with someone local. But what about you?
Feeling called. So I have felt called to do
Yeah.
a lot of things. I actually recently just talked to Elena about this, a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And she was like, so we worked together in a restaurant when I was youngin'. I was 19 and 20 working there. And I decided to do...
When I was young.
When I was young. I'm 25 now. That's younger. A lot happens in 5 years.
Back when I was young, when I was 19.
That's young.
Yes,
I
it
was
was,
young.
it was.
Okay.
Sorry.
What was I saying?
You were working in a restaurant and you were
Yeah,
young.
I decided to do yoga teacher training, and my boss at that restaurant and Elena, who worked with me there, they're like, "How much does it cost? Like, what?" They asked me questions about it, and my training at the time was like $2,500. It's more expensive now, actually. So it was 2,500, and she was telling me just a few weeks ago. She was like, "Why?" She thought, she's like, she could use that money for so many other things, and she doesn't even know that she wants to teach. And like, why is this girl doing yoga teacher training? And honestly, I didn't really know why either. I just kind of wanted to do it. I think I don't know what this. I wouldn't say it's a strength in me, but something I value within myself is that I follow my heart pretty easily, because if I feel called to do something, I generally will go do it regardless of whether my intellectual head understands it or not. So I didn't really know why I wanted to do yoga teacher training. I just decided that I wanted to do yoga teacher training, and so I did it. And then that opened up so many doors for me. Like, I met Kwong, and then Kwong brought me to where I am working now, which...
And then you met your
I
fiance.
met my fiance, and I'm just being in this office space with what Dominic does and what I was doing. All of that just shifted me a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, keep growing from there. But it's all like, it's a ripple effect. So if I hadn't just gone and done yoga teacher training, then I don't know where I'd be.
So essentially we're talking about like not having a necessarily like a rational reason, because there's a lot of rational reasons to not do it, but you just know like that's the right thing to do, right? How do you tell the difference between a calling and then like some kind of like unhealthy impulse? Because like, oh, I feel like I should do it, you know, like, and just go do it. What's the difference for you? It's like, I felt the call to smoke a joint. You didn't feel the call to smoke a joint. What's the difference?
It's a good question. I've never really thought about it. Sometimes, like, if it's, because the first thing I think of is like food related, like going to eat junk or something. I think about the way I'd feel if I ate it. And then I'm like, well, I don't really want that, because I'm not going to feel great after that. So it's a part of me wants that, but another part of me really doesn't want that, because the other part of me really wants to feel good later.
Okay, I'm going to be the devil's advocate and very kind of annoying, okay?
Okay.
But if you're doing yoga teachers training, a part of you want it, a part of you don't feel like you should spend the money, because the money could go towards something else that you also want.
Yeah.
So there's a...
I remember thinking that, and a part of me overrides it. I don't even know. I was thinking about this before too, like, how do I keep doing this? Like, there's generally like so much fear, like financially and stuff around it, but there's such this like higher calling that just pulls me forward, and I somehow get to the mindset of like, it doesn't matter about the money, I'll figure it out, I'll make more money, I'm not gonna go homeless, I have great support system, like, it doesn't matter, and I just do it. I don't know how it happens, actually.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's actually really, really tricky, because I'm asking you to describe something that just, it's like a experiential knowing, right? So you're almost like trying to differentiate between the two. I think it's safe to say for both of us, having experienced it, that like when it's a calling, you just know, right? Yeah. You can resist it, you can fight it, you can like try to like stuff it down, push it away.
But it seems to pretty well override fears and stuff as well, because like you still have it, but you kind of do it anyways. You're like, that's there, but I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, but it's almost like it transcends it, right? Like
it does. Yeah,
it'll pop up, and then you'll try to rationalize your way out of it and all this stuff, and then it's almost like just like this nagging, like little like, you know, not even a offense. No, that's not a good word, nagging. It's like, but it's just like a ever-present like beacon in the background. It's like, hey, still here, just still here, and then you just do it.
Yeah. I actually, and it can be about very small things, because I'm getting a massage tomorrow, and I've been thinking, oh, I want a massage for I think like at least over a month now. I want a massage. Oh, I want a massage, but I don't want to spend the money on it. Like, I don't need a massage.
Yeah.
Whatever. I get so much other body work. I don't need a massage. But I was consistently wanting a massage that I just, like 2 days ago, was like, okay, fine. I'm consistently wanting a massage, so I need to like listen to my body. My body's calling for it. So I'm getting a massage tomorrow. But it can be in like little things like that where it's just it's constantly there. It just keeps showing up. Like, you'll rationalize it down and it keeps coming up. Especially when it's stuff like, you know, can be beneficial for you, like going to get work done or something like that. Like, that's
another one too
calling.
is I would say so, you know, you hear like people say like meditate. Like, what are the benefits of meditation? It's not so you are more chill, right? Where you don't like express emotions or get mad. Like, you don't
Sometimes
meditate. You don't meditate your emotions away. Like, emotions are necessary.
Sometimes you feel your emotions more when you meditate.
Yeah,
too.
right. So what happens is you actually develop you have a more developed relationship with your observer. So the ability to actually observe in a circumstance and outside of a circumstance at the same time improves. And then when you're able to observe more frequently and more frequently, then when the calling comes, it's like
You're
you
aware
can
of the
separate it.
calling.
Like the calling isn't something like from you. It's actually something from wherever, and it's like you didn't generate it, right? Whereas like when it's eating some spicy Cheetos, right? Like the desire clearly is like it's coming
You
from me,
generated.
and it's not even. It's almost there to numb myself from something else, right? So it's almost there so I don't have to experience something else, rather than like moving towards something really, really cool that I'm like, it's almost like I'm meant to do, right? So there's like that difference too, like between a desire to do something that
Yeah.
it's just like a desire or impulse, as we'll call it, versus a calling.
Yep. I hear like a lot of inspirational stories at times of like they've, you know, taken these big leaps of faith and this and
Yeah.
that. And sometimes you hear other people's stories and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so courageous. Like, I don't think I could ever do that.
Yeah.
But then really, if you look at your life, you can most likely find something like that that's courageous. That's a leap of faith that was easy. It was kind of easier for you to do. But I find like a lot of my friends will look at what I'm doing. They're like, you're so brave. You're so courageous. And like, it doesn't feel that brave to me. It just I'm like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this. It was never. Again, it kind of like that calling really kind of overrides the fear, and you just know that you're going to be okay. Like, I don't even a lot of times have a thought of, am I going to be okay? I'm just like, this is what I want to do, and I feel lit up with it. And I go do it.
I definitely have the thought. I'm like, there's all these like
It depends on the thing. Sometimes
thoughts and
I
like
do, yeah.
rational reasons to not do something that I have to. Really, it's not battle, because if you have to battle it, you know, it's just a lot of efforting to psych yourself out. It's actually to notice and acknowledge the rational thoughts against it without resisting it, and automatically it's like something kind of just like comes up. I've had the experience where it's like taking a course and it's a lot of money. It's like as I do that, like the money just shows up somehow in some way. Lots of times it's not even the way I thought it was going to show up, or not in a way I like. But it does, and it just works out the way it works out.
Yeah, and once you make the decision, everything kind of falls into line.
Yeah, it really does, right? It's almost like, hey, you know what? If you put down like a $200 deposit, you're like, oh my god! Like, so for mine, like there's one where it's like, the course is $1,800 a month. Put down a $200 deposit to sign up. I'm like, there is no fucking way I could pay $1,800 a month. Right, like I don't even want to, right? So the logical thought is like, why would I even go and put $200 down?
Right.
Like, you know, what kind of idiot is that? And then talked to a buddy of mine, Anthony, somehow just got inspired and just did it. And then everything actually just kind of like works out the way it works out. Right. But from that point, when I was looking at it, I was just like, there's no way. And then even after I did it, I'm like, you know what? Like, screw it. Let's take it 1 month at a time. We're just like, whatever happens, happens. And then actually things kind of unfold.
Yeah, that was a big thing for me, especially with a lot of my courses, because the things I've done have been expensive.
Yeah.
And I remember being really, like, that's generally a worry that I have, is the financial part of it.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my teachers, I was expressing my financial concern to him, and he told me a story of someone also having a concern. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to have the money to, you know, pay for the rest of this. And to the day up to like the day before the course, he didn't have the money.
Yeah.
And he ended up looking in his trunk for something and found the exact amount he needed to pay the rest of it that he had put there a while ago for some reason and he forgot about.
Yeah.
And it was like, and so actually hearing those stories of like everything coming into alignment helped me a lot with the financial issues of going about it, because now I have a strong belief that if I just put a deposit down and decide I'm going to do this, life kind of like
and I will say this,
out.
right? So like 10 years ago, when I like, if 10 years ago, if I heard the story, I'm just like, it's just some freaking
right. You have to experience it.
brainwashed little girl who just, you know, like, who doesn't get how real life works.
Yeah.
Right. And what I noticed too is, like, let's just say someone wants to do it, right? Someone wants to do something. And then the concern is financially. If you actually help them out financially or do something with them financially, one, they still might not do it. And then two, if they end up doing it, it just never seems to actually work out.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like someone who had that same hurdle financially, for some, and you know, by a lot of people's, by the way, I'm not giving financial advice, but just experientially, like noticing, like if they just committed, they somehow actually end up making more money and like figuring it out anyways. That's like a pretty consistent outcome that I noticed. You know, and I could even say for me, so you know, obviously I'm taking like an energy course, so we're in the second year.
Yeah.
Right. So I had no desire to sign up for that course the first year, and then, you know, I just kind of ended up signing up for it. Just got inspired to do it. Where I was like a calling. My thought at the time was, once I sign up, everything's going to be easy. Right? Things are just, you know, I'm learning energetics. I'm just going to make more money. So when I signed up, at that point, financially, that's probably the best position the gym has been since we opened. Right? So my business has been. And then once I actually signed up, it actually started going down financially. And then we started having problems with our neighbors, which we didn't really have a problem with like the year before that. Right? And just like, it just seems like everything was like falling apart. And looking back now, it was just basically massive instability for that whole last year. So from when I signed up until
Things headed.
January and February, like maybe even like up until like coronavirus hits, right? And then, looking back now, it was actually necessary.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fun, because you make a decision to like up level in some way.
Yeah,
and
and
so
actually,
your old life
it actually
needed to
just
crumble
created
to
instability.
create
So like
something
before,
else.
I thought it was pretty good. It was comfortable. It actually wasn't great. It was just comfortable or kind of like numb to some of the stuff that I wasn't paying attention to. But what I really want to talk about was, so struggling financially, like hasn't been that bad since like the first year of the business, right? Since after I signed up. And then it was December, and then, okay, there's year 2 of the course, and then there's a mentor program. And if you sign up for the mentor program, it's more than twice as much. Actually, it's about twice as much as the regular course.
Yeah, a month.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's like I can actually probably live off of that in a month. Right? I'm like, there's no way. Well, okay, well, maybe if we do well in January and February, you know, we hit a certain benchmark, then I'll do it.
It's that a month for a year?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
that's a lot. So
That's a lot, yeah.
so right, that was my thinking. And again, I talked to buddy Anthony. So he's actually convinced me twice. I don't know what he did. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just put down the deposit, which is like just $200. Right, so I ended up signing up for it.
Yeah.
And there was just like, there's no way. There's like, how am I gonna like make this work? Again, not giving financial advice, just telling you my personal experience, right? And then January and February, right? And then coronavirus hits March. And just funny how things work out. From a cash flow standpoint, the business is actually doing better now, right? So it's July, than it was in February before coronavirus hits, right? It's just doing better cash flow wise. And obviously, you know, there's still like circumstances, so it's not like, look at us, we're just gonna buy like Lamborghinis for everyone. But it's a completely different feel, and then almost like how we're dealing with the business. And then also like personally, like the last month, like I made more the last month than any other month in my life, like financially. And then it's actually fun to do it, and it's like seductive in a way, right? Like making money is actually seductive, and it's not this like chores, this hard thing. It's just this thing where like you can actually help make a difference in people's life and make money. It's one or the other. Like if I want to sell my soul and go do intelligence, I can make a lot of money, but I can't, you know, like all that stuff. And it actually came from me signing up for that course.
Yeah.
And just claiming something. And then the payoff wasn't right away, but the payoff is what, 6 months later. So it's not that long, or a year and 4 months later if you count back from last year when I signed up. But at the time I had no idea, right? And then when it's happening, I'm like questioning, I'm like, did I make the right choice? Why am I I'm already struggling financially. Yeah. And then I put more financial pressure on myself. Yeah. And then like all this stuff. And so it's crazy how it works. Yeah. You know, yeah, like this is more like personal information. Like my parents actually ended up letting me borrow some money too. And then I actually shifted something energetically. So now they're doing actually way better, where the money doesn't even mean that much to them. And also, you know, I started managing their funds for them, especially with the current economic situation, and managing their money. I actually helped them make way more money than they let me borrow, just through me managing it for them in like a short amount of time. And they were just gonna let it sit there. They weren't gonna do anything with it. So it's just like the intricacies of how everything works out, you know. So there's a calling, and it just kind of unfolds the way it unfolds. But I never would have thought this was the way it unfolded when I did it. I just felt like it was just a call to action. Anything else?
No. If you feel calling, just take that leap. Life will support you.
Yeah, it's
fun. It's after having like a few experiences of it too, it just gets more and more exciting to do.
Yeah, and I will say this, like, you know, if you do feel like something that you feel that's a calling, one easy way to tell, and you can even represent it in your hands, right? So one hand could be where you are, the other hand is like your ideal outcome, like where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Right, like from whatever that calling is, and you can actually notice, okay, here's where I am right now, this is what it feels like, here's where I want to be, what it feels like. And you can actually start getting a gauge of it, like experientially, actually start noticing. So when you're feeling in that way, instead of finding what you're trying to move away from, you actually get inspired by like what you want to move towards, right? And I'll end it with this. So I recently saw like a video, right? Like Mark Cuban, he's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, NBA basketball team, multi-billionaire. You know, he's on Shark Tank, pretty famous guy now, right? And he was saying like, at his lowest point, he had like $90 in his bank account or something, right? He hit a low point. Peter Dinklage, the guy that plays Tyrion, the short guy in Game of Thrones. He's talking about how he's like a 40-something-year-old like struggling actor before he really got his big break. There was one with like Jim Carrey. He's talking about how he wrote a check to himself, or it's like $1 million or something, and he carried that around in his wallet anymore, and he was just struggling, but he just had that there to remind himself. There's like a lot of stories like this. Just seems like a lot of like very successful people, like The Rock, right, down in the dumps for a while, and now he's, I think, the highest paid actor.
Is he?
Yeah, I think. Well, not this year. I don't think they're making money. But before this year, I think like the last year and the year before that, he was actually like the highest grossing actor, like out of all actors in the world for a year, right? So and he was down and down. It wasn't like he was always successful, right? He just felt like nothing was going his way, and it was like an actual low point. So it just seems like all these like really successful people. It doesn't mean you have to go through that. But they actually had a very low point, and they turned really, really successful, right? And there's something to be said about that. Like, no matter where you're at, right, it doesn't mean you're always doomed for this. It might actually be just what you have to go through right now to build a hunger for what it is that you're meant to do in the future, right? Mm-hmm. And I really believe this. I believe every single human being has that potential and that ability, right? And it's just, again, that's why I have such a passion, like emphasis on like raising people's awareness, self-awareness, because that gives them the requisite baseline ability to start exploring the stuff on their own, to start figuring stuff out on their own, and not be stuck in the predictable loop or future that they already have.
Yeah.
Right. It allows you to actually hear the calling a lot more clearly, and then take action on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I keep thinking of lately is that all of us are so much more capable than we think we are.
Yeah.
Like, so much more capable. And I read something today as well, talking about just accessing your imagination. We can, like, because we can imagine up anything that we want.
Yeah.
Like, we have so much creative power that most of us do not know that we have.
Yeah.
And a part of accessing it is knowing that you have it.
Yeah, like as a species, like what our potential, what we're capable of, we are as a whole asleep, just dead asleep.
Yes.
And I think when I say, like, wake up, that's probably like the context that I really am talking about most often. Mm-hmm. Just as a species, like our this ridiculous potential we have that we're asleep to, and it's exciting, sad,
but it is shifting,
frustrating, and awesome, like all the emotions mixed in one for me.
Yeah, but and I find that it is shifting a lot too. Like, more and more people are realizing that they're a lot more capable than they think they are, and like I feel like most of us are still asleep to that within us, but I feel like many of us are waking up to it more and more every day. So, like, as a whole, like the entire world, we are all shifting and becoming more aware of it, and then it's just going to keep increasing because we're still partly asleep.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of sleep.
No, I'm not like some like fully awake. It's just but it's like.
But as you like start walking this, you start to notice that like parts of you are asleep, and you start waking up and you start realizing you're still really asleep.
And this is where like, like you can't do this alone. Like you only have access to more when other people start realizing their potential more, because it creates an energetic environment where like so much more is available. Like there's no like reality where like you could just keep climbing higher and higher, and other people are like more and more asleep. But there's like basically a scarcity or like a separation. Like it's like one human consciousness, and the more people are elevating their how efficient they can use their potential, and how much more they wake up, the more like you're actually able to do too. Like it's all connected. You
Yeah,
know?
you
So
sponsor for others.
yeah, it's and that's like a truth that you experience. You know, it's not some like logical thing. Even though I'm trying to explain it now, you just know, right? And it's just you want people to do better, to experience love, to joy, inspiration, get to experience the world with curiosity, almost like experience the magic again, like as a kid, like the endless possibilities, right? And not just like already have whatever's going to happen like capped, like, oh, this is what life is going to be like, right? Like, or don't try to make yourself more successful because, you know, that's only meant for the elite few. You're just capped over here, you know, like a lot of those like limiting
beliefs.
Yeah, just like limiting possibilities.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah. So it's I think it's your turn to pick a
Okay.
song.
So the song I nominate, I think it's called Club to Death. It's from The Matrix, but I think it's like an 8-minute part. So you get it, and then from the 8-minute part, pick like maybe
just
like
put the whole
2
thing.
minutes, 8 minutes. You gonna put that in there? All right, why not? All right. Club to Death from The Matrix.
Club to Death.
I think that's what it's called.
Bye, guys.
Bye.